Now, a Hutch's weather update with Chief Meteorologist Hutch Johnson, brought to you by Robert Gibb and Sons. Now, a Hutch's weather update with Chief Meteorologist Hutch Johnson, brought to you by Robert Gibb and Sons.
And good Sunday evening, everyone. This is meteorologist Hutch Johnson joining you, and I hope you're having a wonderful close to the weekend. What a beautiful day across the area, and finally a break from the rain, but not for long. We do have some storms in the forecast. Some could be strong overnight tonight and again tomorrow. I'll show you where and when here in a moment. Just first, a word from my sponsors. With all the wet weather, not a bad idea to check that sump pump. My friends at Robert Gibb and Sons have a $135 professional inspection, and that fee is waived with a replacement if that is deemed to be necessary. And that replacement special is only $550 total. So stay dry and save with my friends at Robert Gibb and Sons. Nathan, good to have you on board, as is always the case. It's always great to have you on board, and drop a note here. Let me know what's going on in your area tonight. Let me know if you have any questions. But here's the highlights and what we're going to cover here in depth. Number one, tonight, storms are going to move out of Canada, out in the western Dakotas. They could be strong and windy. Some of our western counties could see some gusty winds. Now, the risk is pretty low for severe storms, but it's not zero. So as storms move through overnight tonight into your Monday morning, we could have a couple of strong ones. So we'll show you the latest on that, and then we'll talk about the risk tomorrow. After the heat of the day builds, it's going to increase the moisture and the energy in the atmosphere, and the chance for severe storms appears to be more potent on our Monday. In fact, some areas could have a risk of all modes of severe weather, including very large hail, damaging straight line wind, and a few tornadoes. The greatest risk will be in Minnesota, but there are some valley counties also in the path of those storms. So we're going to go over all of that. Paul, good to have you on board from Ogama. Watching from Park Rapids is Cheryl. Nathan, good to have you on board from the Fargo-Moorhead area. Now let's talk about our weather. First, we're going to look at what's going on with our risk of storms tonight. There are some storms in southern Canada. We're talking about in the Saskatchewan area near Regina. Those are going to move through. This yellow area is for overnight windy thunderstorms. Where you see the yellow area, there's a pretty good chance that some of those storms could be high risk. Now, that's in the oil patch north of Williston. We're talking Crosby. We're talking Bowbells and those areas out towards Noonan and Tioga. Plentywood, Montana, also under the gun, as is Freud and the Highway 2 corridor. So that's where the storms are going to be most likely. Again, the main threat as we go into the late night hours will be gusty straight line winds. The green area from Williston, Dickinson, Bismarck, Minot, and into the Devil's Lake Basin is the area tonight where we'll have a risk at seeing a few of those storms that still could be marginally severe. That means we might have some gusty ones out there. So, before you head to bed tonight, as we approach the 9:40 p.m. time frame here in the central time zone, batten down the hatches, make sure that lawn furniture is secure. And again, if storms move into your area and they sound strong, check to make sure that they are not warned for. And there is a possibility we could have some busy storms and strong ones. Hi, Susie. Good to have you. Send some rain your way. Would love to do that for you if I could. I wish I had that power, but I will rub my hands together and think good thoughts. Amanda, daughter's at camp in Henning. Okay, praying the weather will be okay. For now, things are looking good in Henning. Tomorrow, there'll be a risk of some strong storms out there. And you know what? Those camps, they do a great job of staying on top of the weather. And they usually will go over with the kids what they need to do in case of severe weather. But let's take a look. This is tonight's risk of severe weather. Let me switch this over to tomorrow's risk of severe weather as you go into your Monday. Notice that we have a greater area in this yellow, and this includes Minneapolis, Fargo, Grand Forks, Thief River Falls, Bemidji, Baudette, all of Roseau County, down to Duluth, and all the way to the Twin Cities, all of our lakes counties into northeast South Dakota. Now, this could change into the morning hours, but there is a risk of all modes of severe weather tomorrow. And hear me out on this. Not everybody in this yellow area is going to see even a thunderstorm. But if storms form because of the heat we will have and the energy we'll have in the atmosphere, they could quickly become severe. So we want to give you that heads up tonight on Hutch's Weather to make sure you have weather information handy. If storms form in your area, do know it's one of those be aware of your situation kind of days. Please send Susie some rain. Okay, we'll continue to do that. Thanks, Deborah. We'll continue to hope that that's the case for Susie's area. There's some areas that are still pretty dry across the area, but boy, did we have some ridiculous amounts of rain in and around Sioux Falls, southern Minnesota, still having some road problems with regards to the flooding ongoing there. Let's take a look at your forecast. To do that, we're going to look at a couple of different models here right quick, and I'll answer questions if you do have any, but we're going to sneak over and take a look at a high resolution model that's just coming in. Now, this model is updated hourly, and I'll tell you what, it changes oftentimes hourly. So because of that, we can't put too much confidence into the exact location that these models paint where a thunderstorm is going to be, but the general area is usually pretty good. Now, there's a lot of things that can happen that would cause the chance of storms to go kaput. And that is because sometimes when we get a rising bubble of air, that rising bubble of air runs into something called a cap. If there's a cap in the upper atmosphere by getting too warm up there aloft above the ground, then that could cap the area for some areas, but not necessarily all. I do think there's a good chance at seeing some spicy storms as we go through your Monday to start the work week. So here's a look at this model's rendition of the forecast. Tonight, storms moving out of parts of Saskatchewan will drift through. The timing on the map shows this. Here is the midnight hour as we go through right here. So at midnight, they'll be crossing into the border counties there as we go through. Now look at what's moving out of Montana from Glendive north through Sydney. There could be a few thunderstorms there that could be stronger, and there is a risk for some windy ones as well. These will drift as we go into the 5 a.m. time frame here and in towards daybreak here. So the Devil's Lake Basin to the James River Valley have a chance at these windy thunderstorms. And that is the area we had painted in green by the Storm Prediction Center, meaning one or two of these storms may flirt with severe criteria. That means wind gusts upwards of 55 miles per hour, maybe a little bit more. So keep that in mind as you go through the overnight hours. And I mentioned this once, if you're just joining me, Wesley, if you're just joining me, Rick, batten down the hatches in eastern North Dakota overnight, because if there's going to be a threat at all, it's going to be mainly the gusty straight line winds. So that means close the garage door, don't leave that puppy open, and then make sure that you put the vehicle in the garage, don't park under the trees, those kind of things. And maybe even batten down that old trampoline so it don't end up in the neighbor's yard or worse. So now as we go into the morning hours, here you're looking at the daybreak time frame, showers and rumbles of thunder with decreasing intensity moving into the Red River Valley. And these will swiftly move off as we go through the mid-morning hours. Okay, by the time we get to noon, most of the storms will be out of here, and we'll have low pressure off to the west of us. Now, we'll have south winds starting to feed moisture, more humid air into the area, and warmer air as well. So these storms, as long as they skedaddle, will give us daytime heating with some sunshine and a chance for some stout thunderstorms again to develop. Now, this model shows just a couple of storms developing in the afternoon, and it shows them in the similar area of northwest Minnesota up into that Lake of the Woods area, and really, it doesn't show widespread activity. Here's why I want to show you a couple different models. There's energy in the atmosphere, and this model here, what I'm going to show you is the energy in the atmosphere. We call this convective available energy to the atmosphere, but it's potential energy. It doesn't mean that it's going to happen. The reason it's potential energy is we're calculating how fast a bubble of air would really want to rise. The faster, the more severe these storms can be. So we're going to look at this energy as we go into the afternoon. Now, here's the overnight energy moving out of the west, out of Montana, into the oil patch area. And then we start our morning hours right here. So there'll be more abundant energy along the North Dakota, South Dakota border first thing in the morning, but that's not necessarily where the storms will be. Where the energy is not always where the storms form. Now, as we go into the daytime heating, look at this energy build. This is the area where the humid air works its way in. That increases the energy available to the atmosphere, and the temperature on the ground increases the energy available to the atmosphere. It gets ridiculous in parts of southwest Minnesota. This is very high convective atmospheric potential energy. And with this system here in northwest Minnesota, that's why there may be a few storms making their way up in your neck of the woods. This is the afternoon drive time. These storms will form here in the valley. If they do, that's where the best chance of them forming. To the left of this line, by the way, the energy in the atmosphere, very low. So by the time we get to the afternoon, if you are in, say, Steele County up in the Devil's Lake Basin, your risk of severe weather tomorrow, very low. Here we go through the afternoon and evening hours. There is that upward vertical motion in the atmosphere, the energy available to storms swiftly moves out as we go into the late night hours out towards Minneapolis. Now, there's also some spin in the atmosphere, and to look at this, we're going to look at something called a tornado parameter. This does not mean there is going to be tornadoes where you see the bright colors, but what it means is there's some spin in the atmosphere and energy to make thunderstorms. We already know there's energy to make thunderstorms, and it's most abundant here where the heat and humidity is going to be the highest. There's a little bit of spin in the atmosphere here up in northwest Minnesota. That is why any storms that form tomorrow, because there is a little spin in the atmosphere, they could quickly become severe. So pay attention to that, particularly along and south of I-94 as we go through the evening hours, early evening hours. That energy dissipates pretty quickly once we get beyond the dark hours, and our risk for all modes of severe weather should be gone after that. So this event will be for the severe weather on Monday will be a late afternoon to early evening, and then into the early nighttime hours, not all night long across Minnesota. So that's a look at one model. I'm going to pop up one other model here to show you that there are some differences with regards to the thunderstorm, not the energy. We're just going to look at the future radar here if we can. So that's what will pop up here. And this model is coming in now. So we'll see the storms out of Canada kind of roll in, and Montana. So more of the models are agreeing that the storms will form out near, say, Wolf Point, Montana, and work their way into places like Williston and head into the Minot area by the time we get to around 3 to 4 a.m. After that, they will work their way east. This model says, they kind of will dissipate as they work toward the valley. And that's why the risk of severe here is low, but there is a chance for a couple of storms. Hi from West Fargo, Christy. Good to have you on board. That is always the spot, Marshall County, 2 Tornado Alley. That's what Justice is saying, and we hope the plants don't go flying. Yeah, I don't want plants flying either in the morning. So windy thunderstorms, but this model says maybe not as bad as the last model. What does Hutch think? Well, the energy in the atmosphere is a lot higher out to the west tonight than it is here. So our risk of severe storms overnight here, pretty low. The best chance will likely be in the Devil's Lake Basin and points west, the James River Valley and points west, if there's any storms at all. This model says, get ready for the baking to take hold. South winds push that temperature and humidity up, and here goes this storm forming from Lake of the Woods area, Roseau County, right through the, not far from the FM area, Griggs, Steele, Towner County, Griggs, Steele, and Trail counties, not Towner way up here, have a chance at seeing the storm formation. So when storms form, this would be around, you subtract 5 hours, so we get 2018, that's about 6 p.m. So around 4 to 6 p.m., storms could fire any time in that time frame. These early storms will have that risk of all modes of severe weather. Remember all the heat and energy we saw in the atmosphere down here? Will they form? Well, this shows that there could be storms that kind of congeal into this linear backward C shape. These would be very windy storms if they do indeed turn out like this. So the potential tomorrow, a few tornadoes can't be ruled out. The best chance of storms will be from the Red River Valley counties of North Dakota into parts of Minnesota. The risk will be for a tornado, can't be ruled out, but damaging straight line winds. And because of the energy, particularly in the far south, we could see some pretty sizable hail as well. That's your Monday forecast for the late afternoon and evening hours. These storms will race toward the Twin Cities and be all but done by the time we get to 10 to midnight and on their way out of here. And then Wisconsin will have some windy thunderstorms into the night, according to this model. Shucks, looks like I will be driving in it around 4 to 5. My route from Fergus to Frazee, Cheryl, that's possible. So make sure you're paying attention to the weather. And if storms form tomorrow, make sure that you have a plan and pay attention to that weather. Stay weather aware, we like to say. Okay, so risk of some overnight storms out to the west tonight that could be threshold severe. Wind will be the main threat overnight tonight. And then tomorrow, the risk will be mainly from the valley and points off to the east. Here's your forecast summarized then. Overnight low temperatures across the area with a light northeast wind. Coolest in parts of central and northern Minnesota, mid-50s to around 60 for most. Out to the west will be 60 to 65 degrees, and those storms will be blowing in from the west by daybreak. We're talking about Devil's Lake Basin. Grand Forks will have a better chance at some storms. We could see some rain and thunder here in the FM area. I don't anticipate severe. I'll watch it. And make sure you check back for an update tomorrow as well, particularly on your drive home as you're getting ready to finish your day. Southeast winds increasing throughout the day. Look at the heat pushing in from parts of South Dakota with the south winds. So with the morning storms exiting, some solar sunlight coming in, we're going to re-energize the atmosphere with temperatures 85 to 90 degrees in the valley, southeast North Dakota. And look at this, a good shot at some 90-degree weather across portions of South Dakota and the Southern Valley as well. Cooler in central Minnesota because of the morning clouds and storms that will kind of be more prominent out there in the midday hours when the heating starts, but you too will warm up and you will feel the humidity as well. There'll be a cooler flow in northwest North Dakota. So if you are in Crosby, if you are in the McKenzie County area, anywhere out near the Montana border, expect temperatures to be 75 to 80 degrees for most of those areas. A hot one though in Baker, Montana, and Hutch's favorite one to say down there, Ekalaka. So if you're heading down to Ekalaka, just know there's a chance for a few of those the heat to be a little hotter for you folks down there. Mark says, waiting to jump in the fire, fuel for storms. There's indeed fuel for storms. Mark, as you know, you let me know how things shape up out in the central part of the Dakotas, and we will talk to all of you again very soon. Here's a look at the planning forecast for you, by the way. This is brought to you by my friends at Precision Lawn and Landscaping, and a quick word from my sponsors, and then I'll go over this. They have a couple of things for you. Number one, they have Hutch's discount. So give them a call if you are a new customer and you sign up for lawn maintenance. So things like lawn mowing or any yard work at all like that, then they will give you that 10% discount, the Hutch's discount. Bigger projects, they do landscaping too. If you sign up for one of them, tell them you need Hutch's discount. If you're a new job and a new start, they'll get you a 5% discount on that. And because of the heat and all of the rain, those mosquitoes are terrible in places, and they can take care of that too. So make sure when they come by to do the yard, tell them about it. They'll get you taken care of for that too. And you know what? It lasts for up to 3 weeks, and it's family friendly and pet friendly. Again, that's Precision Lawn and Landscaping. Temperature very hot tomorrow in Fargo, not as hot for some of our far eastern or far western counties, but by and large, it's going to be a sizzling summer day. Gusty winds, southerly. Morning showers and storms, not likely to be severe, but the afternoon, particularly the afternoon and early evening ones in our area, they could be severe. And in central Minnesota and eastern Minnesota, there's a high likelihood of some wind damaging storms, and there is a risk for some spin in the atmosphere tomorrow. So stay well informed. A little cooler after the showers exit in the early part of the day, and quiet for most of your Tuesday afternoon. Temperatures seasonal. Seasonal again on Wednesday, just a degree shy of average. We'll be around that average temperature mark, but the thunderstorm chances return late Thursday and early Friday. I'll keep you apprised of the situation there with the heat and humidity of this time of the year, and it is our peak storm season here in the Northern Plains. We could be busy on that night as well, but I'll keep you up to date. 74 to start the weekend, a little on a cooler note, but still very pleasant with a high on Sunday of 81 degrees as we close out, can you believe it or not, close out the month of June. All right, I'm meteorologist Hutch Johnson. Just cut hay down. Is it going to rain in Elizabeth? You know what? I got to tell you this. There's a huge area of storm risk tomorrow. I'll show this one more time for you, Allison. There's a huge area of storm risk, but thunderstorms don't always hit everybody in these areas. So if you're in Elizabeth, Otterdale County, if you're in Wadena County, there is a chance of storms tomorrow, okay? And it's going to be windy. That should help the hay dry out. I don't know how long you like to leave it cut and down, probably a good couple of days at the very least. There is a chance of rain, and there's a chance of storms in your area tomorrow. But no model can really give us a good feel about where the exact storm is going to move over. So no matter what model you watch, what station, what your source is, just know this: any computer model is not going to tell you with certainty on any consistent basis of where an individual thunderstorm is going to form. What's the 4th of July weekend looking like? Andy, for you, we're going to pull out some bonus coverage right here on Hutch's weather. Let's do a quick look at the European model for that. Hutch's go-to model when it comes to risks of showers or storms or weather forecasts beyond day 3 or 4. Now, I'm going to zoom this into our area for us real quick, Andy, to highlight your question and answer it. And then I want to give you a word of thanks. Thanks to all of you who watch and ask questions. This part is Hutch's most favorite. The ability to answer your questions. I could never do that in other forms of media. You know why? Because I couldn't hear you no matter how hard I listened on the television. Okay, so let's get out and we get toward the end of the month here. There is going to be your Thursday chance of showers and storms into Friday. So Thursday night and Friday storms, those could be strong. They could be severe. I'm not excited about it yet, but there is the energy in the atmosphere. There's potential here, so we'll keep our eyes on it. Again, Thursday night, Friday, your next weather wiggle of significance across the valley. We go into the weekend with a northwest flow that cools us off, as you saw on Saturday's forecast. Sunday, well, nice little warm up and seasonal. And high pressure means happy weather. H stands for happy. Okay, as we go through the Sunday time frame and head into the month of July, there's another storm that the European model is showing working its way in our general direction. And this is out to the 2nd, and that's as far out as this model will go, is the 3rd of July in the morning. So kind of an unsettled pattern with periods of storms. To go out any farther than that, I'll have to go to the trusty American model. So why not? Shall we go to that too? I like to try to answer your questions, but I got to tell you, this is on the very far outside of a 10-day model run. So if you're going out that far, it's important to know you really need to get out the biggest grain of salt you can find and throw it in your mouth, because you got to take this with a big old grain of salt. Don't do that literally. I'm not a doctor, and I'm not telling you to take more salt in your diet. That's not what I mean. This is a thing where you just got to know that this forecast that goes out that far is literally just an idea. Or we're looking at a trend. If we keep our eyes on it and we see the trend consistent for 2 or 3 days in a row, we might actually be able to put some confidence into that forecast. Here's the 2nd of July in the very early morning hours. What you're seeing rolling over us is a low pressure system and a northwest flow, keeping us cooler as we go into the 2nd. Then south winds start to return and the heat is on just a little bit. Northern counties could be cool on this day as we go through the 2nd in the afternoon, but southern counties warming up. So there. Now as we head into the 3rd, looks like high pressure moves over Minnesota and we quiet down. But look at this. That L stands for less than lovely. That's a storm in the northern hemisphere in the mid-latitudes. This mid-latitude storm system will bring a chance of rain and an increasing chance of rain on the 3rd in the morning, according to this model. And look where it goes, straight south. That means our risk of widespread rain and thunder may be limited if that's indeed the path that storm takes. Here's the 4th of July, a big old happy right over the top of us. Happy means clearing skies, and that means you should be able to see fireworks. So as it stands right now, my friend Andy, it does look like there's a chance at seeing some fireworks. I can't rule out a renegade thunderstorm that forms in the heat of the day this time of the year. Does this look hot? No. Much of the real hot air does suppress down to the south, but does it look cold? No, not too chilly either. Probably we'll call it seasonable temperatures with a chance of a spotty shower or storm, but high pressure meandering into the area. All right, that's a look at your forecast. Can snow any day with them temps. So yeah, well, I hope not. All right, that's a look at your weather. I'm meteorologist Hutch Johnson. It's a pleasure having you on board. Check back tomorrow. Remember, Monday, a chance of some strong to severe storms, particularly from the valley and into Minnesota. And you bet, Andy, thanks for asking the question. Have a great